Have you ever just felt completely burnt out? You know the feeling. One minute you're on fire, totally on top of your game, and the next you feel unmotivated, anxious, and just flat. It's a feeling a lot of us know all too well in this crazy, hyper-stimulated world we live in. Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful concept that might just get to the root of this problem, the dopamine detox. We're going to unpack how our own brain chemistry could be working against us, and more importantly, how we can start to reclaim control. To really get this, let's start with a personal story. It's a journey that goes from peak performance to a complete and total crash. And as we go through it, I bet some of this is going to sound pretty familiar. And wow, these are some raw words from our source. And they just perfectly describe that jarring shift, don't they? One moment, everything is clicking, and the next, you're in this state of emotional paralysis. The source calls it the dopamine crash. And what's so powerful is that moment of realizing, hey, this isn't just me. This isn't some personal failing. It's a widespread problem. And this right here, this really puts that contrast into perspective. Just look at this. On one side, last year, productive, motivated, social. And on the other, this year, anxious, isolated, just struggling. The change is so drastic. It really makes you stop and wonder, what on earth could cause a shift like that? Okay, so to understand what happened, we've got to pop the hood and look at the science. And it all comes down to one incredibly powerful molecule that's right at the heart of this whole crash: dopamine. Now, this is the part that I found absolutely fascinating. I think most of us, myself included, always thought of dopamine as the pleasure chemical, right? It's the reward you get after you do something. But that's not it at all. It's the molecule of motivation. It's the chemical fuel that pushes you to go pursue the reward in the first place. So that feeling when you can't get off the couch, even though you know you should, that's a lack of dopamine. That literally is procrastination. So how does this actually work in the brain? Well, it turns out we have two modes for dopamine. First, there's your tonic, or what we call your baseline level. Think of it like the steady background hum of motivation you need just to feel normal and get through your day. And then you've got these phasic bursts. These are the big, sudden spikes you get from things like a text message, a social media notification, or a bite of junk food. And it's the relationship between that steady hum and those big spikes that's where all the trouble starts. Okay, so we've got this natural motivation system, a steady baseline with a few occasional spikes. So the big question is, how does our modern life manage to completely hijack this system so effectively? In the core of the problem, it all boils down to this one idea: an evolutionary mismatch. You see, our brains evolved for a world of scarcity, a world where rewards were few and far between. They are simply not wired to handle the 21st century's nonstop, all-you-can-eat buffet of high-intensity stimulation. And this mismatch creates this really dangerous cycle called the dopamine prediction error loop. Let's walk through it. It starts when your brain predicts a little reward. But then, an app, which, let's be honest, is engineered to be addictive, delivers a much bigger, more exciting reward than you expected. In response, your brain raises the bar for what it considers rewarding. You repeat that cycle over and over, and pretty soon, normal life, it just starts to feel kind of boring and dull. And this chart, wow, it shows the devastating result of that loop. Just look at it. As we keep chasing those cheap, intense spikes, more scrolling, more junk food, more notifications, our normal baseline level of motivation, that hum we need to function, just gets lower and lower and lower. We're trading our long-term drive for these short-term hits. And that low bar on the right? Yeah, that's the crash. And this whole thing leads to what the source calls a two-pronged disaster. First, your baseline motivation drops so low that you just feel hopeless. But second, your brain's actual dopamine receptors become less sensitive. It's like eating super sugary food all the time. Eventually, a piece of fruit just doesn't taste sweet anymore. Your brain starts needing more and more stimulation just to feel normal. And that right there, that is the dopamine crash. So, we've diagnosed the problem. Now, let's get to the solution. And what's really important to get right away is that this isn't about some quick fix. This is about a fundamental lifestyle change. And this is the key insight right here. Forget about those temporary detoxes. As the quote says, this isn't a 7-day plan. It's a lifestyle. Think of it like the difference between a crash diet and actually changing the way you eat for good. One is a temporary fix, the other is a real solution. And the goal here is actually pretty simple, but it's so profound. By intentionally lowering all that constant high-level stimulation from things like our phones and junk food, we allow our dopamine baseline to slowly rise back up to a healthy level. Our receptors finally get a chance to heal, and the result? You start finding genuine joy and motivation in normal, everyday things again. A good conversation, a walk outside, or just the simple satisfaction of getting your work done. Okay, so what does this lifestyle actually look like day to day? Let's get into the actionable steps. This is your reset playbook pulled directly from the source. Step 1. You have to starve the beast. This means systematically eliminating the main sources of cheap, unearned dopamine. We're talking about the obvious digital stuff, right? Endless scrolling on reels and shorts, obsessive gaming. But it also means cutting out the junk food, the constant need for online validation, and binge watching shows just to escape from reality. But listen, it's not just about taking things away. You have to replace those cheap highs with earned, healthy rewards. And what's really cool is this idea of chasing other neurochemicals. Go chase endorphins with a tough workout. Go chase oxytocin, the love hormone, with real face-to-face social connection. When you combine that with clean food and quality sleep, you're not just detoxing, you're actively building a foundation for a healthy brain. Okay, here's a really clever, super practical tip from the source. Set up a 2-phone system. Your main phone becomes just a tool for essentials only: calls, maps, maybe payments. Then, all the distracting apps, social media, games, all that stuff, they go on a second phone. And here's the key. Make it an old, slow one. That little bit of friction, that extra effort to grab the fun phone, is often all it takes to break that mindless habit of constant scrolling. Okay, so you can have the perfect playbook. You're eliminating the bad, you're cultivating the good. But the source points out there's one final crucial ingredient. And honestly, without it, none of this is going to stick. So let's just ask the most important question here. Why do most of these dopamine detoxes ultimately fail? Why do people feel great for a week or two and then fall right back into their old habits? The answer, according to the source, is surprisingly simple. They're missing a purpose. Without a compelling why, without that goal on the horizon, a detox just feels like deprivation. It's suffering without a point. And your brain is hardwired to avoid pointless suffering every single time. And this purpose, it has to be something bigger than just yourself, what the source calls a noble purpose. Here are just a few examples. Buying a home for your parents, helping to fund a sibling's education, being the first person in your family to buy a car. It's a goal that's rooted in service and contribution, something that actually pulls you forward when things get tough. So, if you take just one single thing away from all of this, let it be this. Before you delete a single app, before you throw out any junk food, the very first and most important step is to define your purpose. Write it down. Make it real. This why becomes your anchor, the thing that holds you steady when the process inevitably gets hard. And we'll end on this really powerful idea from the source. Don't search for a high outside. Your own body has it. We spend so much of our lives chasing stimulation from our devices, from our food, from the outside world. But the most profound, the most sustainable rewards are the ones we generate ourselves, through purpose, through discipline, and through meaningful effort. The real high, it isn't out there. It's already within you.